Why can't someone who leaves the church leave the church alone? This is a question that I've heard many people pose as I've frequented different blogs and talked to different people who are both in and out of Mormonism. I've even heard priesthood leaders on occasion use this idea as a way to promote faith in the veracity of the church. For instance, the church is so true, so powerful in its truth, in fact, that people can never really escape it. Even when they leave, they can't leave it alone. Now, I don't want to be inflammatory or acerbic, but you could say the same thing about torture. Now, I'm not saying that Mormonism is torture, not at all. I'm simply pointing out that the desire to focus on one's religious history after one ceases to believe in the complete truth of that religion should not be used inappropriately and manipulatively. For me, to talk about my past, to talk about my experiences, is neither an insult to nor a promotion of those beliefs that I once held dear. It is simply, for me, a symptom of human experience. When something is important in my life, I want to talk about it, I want to synthesize it, I want to process it, and I want to discover what it meant, what it means today, and what it's going to mean for me tomorrow. The reason I want to talk about this is because I've read on other people's blogs, and I've had some comment on my blogs, something along the lines of, "You're not a Mormon anymore, you shouldn't say you're a Mormon, you have no right to comment on Mormonism, why can't you just leave the church alone, what did the church ever do to you?" I want to read to you a comment that sort of really encapsulates this sort of commentary. This person said to me, "I love how when people decide to leave the Mormon church for whatever reason, they can never really sever their ties to the church because they devote the rest of their lives to trying to explain to others how the church is bad and wrong, almost as if they're trying to justify their own actions. You're gay. That's great. So be gay and just leave the Mormon church behind. Why do you need to tell other people that the Mormon church is wrong simply because it doesn't condone your lifestyle?" In order to respond to this, I'd like to first start by saying I am an apostate, and I'm an apostate by definition because I've fallen away from the faith of the LDS Church. My first experience with apostasy happened when I was about 13 years old, and there was this young man in our ward, a very, very small ward, comprising a really, really large geographical sector, and many, many small towns kind of come together. We had to drive 30 minutes to get to church, and I remember this young man was like just the hero of the ward. I mean, he held every calling. He was this like tall, amazing basketball player. He was really handsome. Everyone looked up to him, and he was the first person from the ward, from that age group, to go on a mission. And he was the first person to leave on a mission from that ward in a really, really long time. It was a really, really big deal, and everyone was so, so proud of him. Well, about 2 years elapsed, and he just didn't come back to church. And his family was sort of acting really strangely about it, and it was really this cryptic thing. And so I just started asking people, what happened to this young man? What happened? Like, he's home from his mission. And people were like, really strange about it. I'd never seen people acting so strangely. And finally someone was like, well, while he was a missionary, he started reading anti-Mormon literature, and he was deceived, and he has been excommunicated from the church. And I just remember being really impacted, yes, by the information, yes, by what had happened to this person who everyone looked up to, including me, but more so by the way people were reacting to it. There was such a strange feeling around it. No one would talk about it. Everyone was it was just really, really uncomfortable. And there was a lot of heavy, heavy judgment. I instantly started feeling afraid. I started feeling afraid that maybe one day this feeling might be turned on me if I didn't do the right thing, if something happened to me, if I stumbled on some anti-Mormon literature, you know. So I made a vow then and there to never read any anti-Mormon literature because I was terrified of having this judgment, this feeling turned onto me. The problem with the way that I feel that the church, in general, the church members approach an apostate is twofold. Number one, there's never a valid reason to leave the church for an active LDS member. Usually there's no reason that is valid. If you leave the church, you're bad, and it's bad that you're doing it. And number two, there's this apostate box. Like, there's this myth that all people who leave the church do so for the same reason. The reason being that they just couldn't live the commandments anymore. They just weren't a strong enough person. Now, while I will definitely concede that there are some people who just want to drink coffee and drink alcohol, and there are just people who just don't want to pay tithing. They just don't want to pay 10% of their income to anyone. And there are people that just want to wear more than one earring in their ears, or they want to have a belly button piercing, or whatever. For whatever reason, they're like, oh, the church is BS. I don't want to be part of this. I do feel like, by its definition, anytime you put something in a box and say, this is the reason why people do this, it's an oversimplification. And I feel really strongly that this oversimplistic view truly diminishes the journey of the person who's leaving the church. Now, as an active Mormon, you're like, well, I don't care. They left the church. Why should I care about their journey? Well, I don't need to remind you that that person is still a child of God, number one. Number two, that person is someone you profess to love. You profess to love them while they were part of the fold. What changed? Just because they left the church, suddenly you don't love them anymore? Suddenly you don't care about them anymore? Suddenly you don't care about their well-being? And did you only care about them because they were part of your church? If so, that wasn't sincere. And, the other thing is, that person, though they might be leaving the LDS church, that person still might have really important things to accomplish during their time on earth. And I don't need to remind you that there have been many people throughout history who have done great things for the nation, for the world, for humanity, who have not been Mormons. And there have been people who have done great things for humanity since the church was founded, who have known about the church and not accepted it. So not everyone that does good things or important things to themselves and their families is a Mormon. So the biggest problem, I think, within the community, because you're saying, well, what does it matter? These people are leaving. I can behave toward an apostate if I want, however I want. I can put them in this apostate box if I feel like it. The problem within the community is that this treatment of people who are leaving the church engenders fear in anyone who watches a person, as I did, go from spiritual hero to the leper. It's really damaging to someone who watches this. And maybe you'll say, well, maybe they should be afraid. We have to work out our salvation with fear and trembling before God. We should all be afraid of becoming apostates because we should be afraid that we're going to lose our souls. My question to you is this. Do you want people to stay in the church because they fear becoming an apostate, because they fear being treated by an apostate? Do you want people to stay in the church because they fear the judgment and rejection of the loving community that surrounds them? I personally don't think the community of saints can truly be healthy until they accept the journey out of the church with as much happiness and love as they accepted that person's journey into the church, whether it was born into the covenant or whether it was through baptism and through confirmation. For me, this apostate box has got to be broken down and put in the dumpster. People have stories, they have feelings, they have experiences, they have real things that are happening to them. And just because they don't want to continue on the path that the church has laid out for them doesn't make them any less worthy of your love and your support as a follower of Jesus Christ.